welcome back to the Football Friday podcast presented by Football Fever. We've got another long episode today, so I hope you're going to enjoy it. And sadly, we're going to start this episode off with the sad news of Alisson's father passing away. So all our thoughts are with him, mine, Jacob's, and Zach's. And then on a more positive note, we've got a bit of a Champions League roundup like the start of last podcast. And first up, we've got Lazio 1, Bayern Munich 4. 4 crucial away goals for Bayern Munich. And is it all but done for Bayern Munich? I think so. I think everyone expects Bayern Munich have won that tie. Is there any way back out of it, boys, for Lazio? You think there's any way they can pull a shock result
Nah,
off?
I don't think so. I think Bayern Munich's defense is too strong for Lazio to have a chance. Lazio to have a chance.
Mm-hmm.
Bayern Munich will just they won't sit back in the second leg because they have the home advantage. I think they'll be wanting to attack more.
Yeah.
Because they'll feel more confident even because they're at home. I feel like they'll just be willing to keep on attacking like in the first leg.
Oh, yeah, I think even if it was 1-0, they'd still attack. That Bayern Munich aren't exactly a team you associate with sitting back, 10 men behind the ball. But yeah, and it was also a special night for Musiala. Was this the game where he scored his goal?
Yeah.
I believe it is,
Champions
yeah.
League. And
In the
he's
Champions League.
some player. In the last podcast, we did also talk about him choosing between Germany and England, and it looks like he's all but chose Germany, which is a bit unfortunate. But we have got a lot of young attacking midfielders already coming through, so it'd be all right. It's not like we're going to miss out on too much, but he does look like he could become some heck of a player. And then another game was also played in the Champions League, and that was Atletico Madrid 0, Chelsea 1. And it was a good goal by Giroud. Scored an overhead kick. Did you see the goal, boys? What did you think of it?
Yep.
No, he's not.
Yeah, good goal.
Yeah, Giroud's not exactly the type of most acrobatic footballer in the world, is he? He's
quite. He scored quite a few good goals like that, like the scorpion kick, and he scored quite a few overhead kicks, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's funny because João Felix tried one first, didn't he? And that didn't go too well. And then next thing you know, Giroud's just scored one. And also a few days later, Dele Alli's gone and scored one in the Europa League.
Yeah. Yeah, it's another away win for the away team as well. And all 4 games, the away team won, actually. I'm just looking at our notes. But another away goals are so crucial in 2-legged ties. But yeah, it's kind of impossible to guess or know what will happen in the second leg between Chelsea and Atletico Madrid. Because it's a bit. Some of the others coming up games are almost won for other teams. But what would your predictions be for Atletico Madrid against Chelsea? Who do you think will make it through to the next stage?
I'm going to say it's going to be 1-1, and Chelsea obviously are going to win 2-1 on aggregates.
Zach, what do you think?
I think it's going to be a game where Atletico sit back like what they did at Anfield and then go for it towards the end. Yeah. And I think it will end 1-0 to Atletico Madrid. And I think Chelsea will win it in added time, in extra time.
Yeah. Well, I'd probably say I still think Chelsea are going to win just because of away goals, and I think they have a good, strong enough team to knock them out. And the other game, Borussia Mönchengladbach 0, Man City 2. Obviously, I think what I've heard is Man City could have and should have scored more, but I think Borussia Mönchengladbach also missed a few chances, so I think they'll be happy with a 2-0 win. Obviously, you can't, if they were offered a 2-0 lead before the game, I'm sure they'd have taken it. But is that another game, do you think, that Man City have won pretty much? I know, Jacob, you'll be very sad because of your road to the final, Zakaria, on FIFA.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
I
don't see.
Settled.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the final Champions League game that was on this week was Atalanta 0, Real Madrid 1, with a Ferland Mendy weak-footed, may I just add, curler into the far corner. That actually really stunned me. I don't really watch the La Liga or any other leagues other than the Premier League much. But I didn't realise that that's what Phil Mendy had in him. But it was a great goal. Have you both seen it?
Yeah, good
Outside
goal.
the
Yeah.
box,
Yeah.
and a big goal for Real Madrid, like in the last few minutes as well. I think if Atalanta could have got a 0-0, obviously they didn't. They were home, so they couldn't exactly sit back all game. But I think with the away goal for Real Madrid now going back to home, I think they've got the upper hand in that one. And on
Yep.
next,
Hard as well,
from
I think.
yeah, and moving on from Champions League, we've got Neil Lennon has resigned as the Celtic manager, and I know Jacob's got a bit more information on this that he can share with us now.
Yep. So former Celtic defender Mark Wilson believes Frank Lampard would be an interesting choice as the next manager, in what he says is a crucial appointment for the club. And this could go back to like the Frank Lampard versus Gerrard. Obviously, as players, there's a lot of debate of who the better player was, but manager would be interesting to see if it is.
It
Lampard
would be
versus
interesting.
Gerrard.
Obviously, Lampard recently sacked by Chelsea, who have also actually performing a lot better since Tuchel joined. But I think, obviously, I don't think Celtic are going to catch up with Rangers. But I don't think they'll get anywhere near them this season. But I could actually see Lampard joining Celtic. Like, it seems like a realistic move, because I do think, like I said from the beginning, that I think him going straight to Chelsea was quite tough, quite a challenge for him. It wasn't straight to Chelsea, but I do think he moved to Chelsea too early on in his career. And you look at Gerrard, who's performing, well, not even performing, managing the team extremely well. Obviously, no one expected before this season that Rangers were going to go and dominate the Scottish League. But do you think Lampard is a man worthy of changing Celtic around? Maybe. Well, obviously they're not. Like I said, they're not going to win this season, but they needed quite a big turnaround.
I'm not too sure about Lampard, because when he was at Derby, he had a lot of loans. Like, he brought basically 5 Chelsea players on loan.
Yeah.
There's like Tamori, Mason Mount, and stuff like that. And also actually got Harry Wilson. So he had a strong team in that season with Derby. So I'm not too sure. Maybe the pressure will get to him, like, because Celtic are expected to win the league.
Yeah.
But
I also think he has quite a lot to show as well, since obviously, obviously managing isn't for all ex-professional footballers, but he's been to Chelsea, his old club, and they've expected a lot from him, and obviously he's not at that level yet. I'm not saying he won't reach that level, because he could, but I just do think he should have started somewhere. Maybe started at Celtic, or after Derby gone to Celtic. But it'll be an interesting one, and the reunion of Gerrard against Lampard will be quite an interesting one. Obviously, I'm assuming Rangers are easily going to win the league this season. But next season, do you think Gerrard can continue it with Rangers, or do you think the Celtic? Because obviously, I assume Celtic will have like 90% of their focus on next season now, and obviously even keeping some of their best players as well, because they'll all be used to winning the league, like season on repeat. Obviously, it'll come to them as a shock that they've not won it this league, and to lose it to Rangers by such a big margin might
but
anger
I've
some
got
of
to
the
say,
players.
that is if Gerrard does stay at Rangers, because of like how well he's doing at Rangers. Like, he's basically made the stadium like a fortress kind of place. 'Cause I think they've only like conceded 4 goals at home this season in the league.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, he's definitely turned them into something, and they're doing decent in Europe as well. So
got a win tonight.
Yeah, they're taking him places, but I'm happy for Gerrard, obviously, and I know his contract runs out in 2024, same as Klopp. So, but I don't know if I'd take him as Liverpool manager then. What would you say, Zach? Would you like to see him join Liverpool then in 2024?
On the topic of that. I think Gerrard, before moving to Liverpool, I think he'll have to find a lot of success at Rangers. Like maybe at least reaching the knockout stages with Rangers of the Champions League, and maybe even moving to another club for a few seasons before joining Liverpool. And I think that's what will be very good for Gerrard and for Liverpool, since Gerrard will be more experienced and be ready to take on the job if he continues how he's been doing at Rangers.
Yeah, because I was going to say, like Lampard, it's quite rare that a manager, obviously it's different for a club legend, but it's quite rare that you see a manager rejoin a team that they've previously managed. Obviously, I know it does happen, but it's quite kind of rare that you see that happen. So, but I do see Gerrard maybe going to a championship side and then joining Liverpool as manager. Obviously, this is if he does, but I'm assuming he does, based on how well he's done and how big of a legend he is at the club. But it's an interesting one to keep an eye on. I know there's quite a few managers being linked with Celtic job, but yeah, we definitely want to keep an eye on. And then we've got a bit of transfer news moving on to here. And first up, we've got Tottenham and Borussia Dortmund lead a list of potential suitors for Dean Henderson if he decides to leave Manchester United this summer. I've got a bit of what am I trying to say? A bit of information on Dean Henderson. So the England international has become increasingly frustrated at the lack of opportunities afforded to him since returning to Old Trafford last August from loan from Sheffield United. And he will not entertain the prospect of spending more time on the bench next season. He's only played 3 out of a possible 25 games this season, all coming in the cup. He's open to moving abroad, meaning Borussia Dortmund do have quite an advantage, as I think he is a Man United fan. And would he want to join like a rival team? I'm not sure. But I could see him moving to Borussia Dortmund, especially with Hitz moving. Well, he's aging quite a lot. Obviously, he's a goalkeeper, and keepers do typically tend to last more than outfield players. But similarly to Hitz for Borussia Dortmund, Hugo Lloris is entering the final contract of his year at Spurs, and Spurs have also continued to monitor the developments of the keeper. And also, the ex-Manchester United manager, Jose Mourinho, is known to be a keen admirer of Henderson. But a downside is Henderson is currently on 120 grand a week and has recently signed a 5-year deal at Man United. So I don't see if... Obviously, that's a lot of money to be sat on the bench. Kind of reminds me of Ozil, just getting a lot of money, but only playing 3 out of 25 games in half a season is quite shocking. Especially for a player of his quality. And obviously, there's Euros coming up. And do you think he'd want to try and get into the England team? Could that be on his mind with wanting to get a move away?
Yeah, but obviously the window's over, isn't it? So
Yeah.
I don't think he'll be the first team keeper for this upcoming Euros. We'll be looking at the World Cup.
Yeah.
So in 2022. So I don't know. I think he'll want to leave because obviously it's not looking like they're going to give him the opportunity over David De Gea.
Yeah, I do think. Well, if he did leave, he'd probably be on loan or they'd have a buyback clause because he obviously with what he's shown last season with Sheffield United, he's proven that he has like the quality, and in the future he can obviously reach a high enough level for Premier League. But it's another interesting one, and one of the newer, more breaking news transfer rumours that have come out over the past few days. But yeah, it definitely one that I kind of saw coming because obviously he's hardly played. Obviously De Gea is the number 1, and obviously he's not at that level yet. I'm not sure how old is he. How old is he? 23, 22?
Yeah, 23, I think.
But
22.
I do think for England's squad, I think Nick Pope. Do you agree Nick Pope should be the number 1 goalkeeper? Or maybe they'd play Pickford, but I'd probably play Pope as a first choice. We've actually got a few good keepers, and I do think he'd definitely get called up at least. But there's a lot of keepers and a lot of competition. And moving on, we've got some good news for any Liverpool fans listening to this, which is Jota's returns to full team training. I believe what I've read, he's not going to be available for the Sheffield United game. Obviously, don't want to rush him back after a lengthy injury. But the Chelsea game after that, I assume he'll have some eyes on. But similarly, do you want to put him in such a big game after he's just come back from I don't even know how long. Do you know how long he's been injured for?
It's been around
months?
3 months.
3 months, yeah.
3-4 months.
Quite a big injury, especially on his knee, which Liverpool have suffered a lot of knee injuries this season. But it's another one. And talk about knee injuries, the biggest one, Van Dijk has returned to solo training at Melwood, which is very good. Obviously, there's talks of him maybe being able to play a few games at the end of the season, but obviously it depends how big games they are. But I'd rather not rush Van Dijk back into first team football straight away, because obviously with an injury like that, any little damage can turn into more. Obviously, because you're more prone to the injury, and yeah, it's good news, and I'm happy for him to get back out there. And moving back into transfer news, we've got Liverpool are in the market for a new centre mid. Obviously, we've talked a lot about free agents, especially Wijnaldum. But the Liverpool manager Jurgen Klopp has personally contacted Borussia Mönchengladbach midfielder Newhouse over a potential move to Anfield. Obviously, I don't know too much because I don't watch other leagues like I mentioned earlier. But do you know anything about Newhouse? I know he's quite an engine in midfield, similar play to Wijnaldum. As he's linked with a lot of clubs, but could you see him moving to Liverpool?
I did. Well, I've watched. I think I watched 2 games of him, but the main one I watched is when I watched Germany play. It was a friendly, I think, or it was in that tournament. I can't remember what it's called now. Nations League. And he's scored a goal. I think it was on his debut or his second game for Germany.
Yeah.
And he's kind of one of them players that like how Gundogan's playing this season.
Yeah.
Obviously, it might not be as good as this, like especially first season, but kind of like he's attacking, but he can also do like a solid job and puts in some good tackles.
Yeah, he's very box to box, and he's like you said,
Yeah.
You wouldn't expect him to be like Gundogan level first season if he joined, but he's very young, so he has a lot of time to improve. And I assume there'd be something in the region of 30 to 40 million. I've read earlier, so it's quite a big sum. But I think obviously it's only transfer rumours, but it'd be an interesting one. And personally, I would take him. But you'll be able to tell us a bit more about this one, Jacob. But there's also another midfielder that Klopp has been extremely interested, and Liverpool reportedly will go strongly in their efforts to sign Udinese midfielder Rodrigo de Paul this summer, according to Sports Mediaset. Do you know anything about him, Jacob? Obviously, he was heavily linked to Leeds last season. So
in the summer. So it was kind of like a lot of the Leeds fans thought it was kind of like nailed on that the signing was going to happen.
Yeah.
Well, it was actually Leeds and Juventus looking for him. But I think the reason he didn't go to Juventus is because he wanted to move to a different country and a different. But no move happened. I think with Leeds it was more with the wages, because we did sign Rodrigo, and then shortly after the links with Rodrigo de Paul we signed Rafinha. But yeah, I think he's more of an attacking midfielder. But yeah, I'm not know too much about him. I just know I've seen like a lot of tweets on Twitter of like how much people rate him and stuff.
Yeah. But would you take him as a Wijnaldum replacement, Zach? Obviously, looking more and more likely every day that he's going to leave, most likely join Barcelona. But would you take him as a replacement?
That it would be a nice signing to make, especially if Liverpool, like Klopp, Michael Edwards, and FSG, if they're really interested in him and will go strongly to get him. I think that there must be something special that Klopp and FSG see in him that makes them want to buy him. And but I think it would be tough choosing between Neuhaus and DePaul. So I think they're both, from what I've heard, very special players. Maybe Neuhaus is like a better and brighter future ahead of him. I would like to see Liverpool sign one of these two as a replacement for Gini Wijnaldum, as he probably is going to leave to Barcelona.
Mm-hmm. They're very similar players, I'd say. Obviously, Jacob mentioned they're more attacking than Wijnaldum. It's weird though because Wijnaldum scores a lot of goals for Netherlands. I know he plays more of an attacking role there, but I wouldn't mind seeing one of these join. Obviously, it's rumours, so Liverpool would like to keep their transfer business quite low key. So I doubt these two would be one of the ones that join. Obviously, we've talked about Liverpool being linked with Zakaria in numerous podcasts previous as well. So it looks like there's a lot of rumours going around that Liverpool will go in for a new centre mid in the summer. Obviously, it all depends on what Wijnaldum chooses, really. But yeah, we've got another bit of transfer news, rumours as well, about players leaving the Premier League. And Zach, you'll have to tell us a bit about this because I don't know much about it. But Hector Bellerin is more than likely to depart Arsenal at the end of the season. Can you tell us any about this? Any teams that are interested, or?
Well, from what I've heard, Bellerin has expressed his willingness to leave Arsenal at the end of the season. Don't know how long he has been there, but I think Arsenal fans really rate him a lot. But like with the future of Maitland-Niles, who's on loan at West Brom, I think Ben will be looking at that, thinking that he'll be overtaken very soon. And I think there's been interest from Barcelona as well, having recently sold Nelson Semedo to Wolves.
Yeah.
And also PSG interested in him.
Mm-hmm. Well, Barcelona have been looking at right backs quite a while. See Max Aaron's in the summer as well. They were looking at, but I'd never heard anything about Hector Bellerin wanting to leave. But yeah, like you said, Arsenal have got quite a few good young players, and I think if Hector Bellerin was to go, it wouldn't be the end of the world. It's not like, say for example, that they're losing Aubameyang would be a massive effect on them, because obviously he's one of the main players. But I think losing Bellerin wouldn't affect them too much. Obviously, they can quite easily go out and buy a replacement for him. But I do see him joining Barcelona, especially since he's Spanish himself. But yeah, speaking about Spanish players, actually, next on the list we've got David De Gea has drawn interest from Juventus, Bayern Munich, PSG. So it's an interesting one because we did talk about Dean Henderson being second choice to De Gea, but could you see De Gea leaving? Like he's been at Man United for quite a while. I think is he the highest paid player in the Premier League? I think it is. Which is mental.
Yeah, now Ozil's gone. I think it is. Yeah.
It's crazy. But could you see him leaving? Like the teams mentioned, I'd understand if it was more maybe a Spanish team, but obviously Real Madrid and Barcelona have keepers and Oblak thingy. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, they'll only get if they sell De Gea, they're keeping Dean Henderson as the first team keeper, and the other way around. But I think they'll end up keeping De Gea because the amount of times De Gea's been linked like to move from Man U, I think it's just his wages. Like paying that much money for a keeper on the wage, I think it's just like a bit ridiculous, really.
Yeah, I agree. Highest paid Premier in the Premier League for a keeper is ridiculous. But Juventus, Bayern, and Inter Milan, and PSG rather, yeah. I've been linked with Aguero as well. Obviously, he said recently he doesn't know if he's going to leave Manchester City. But who would you see him joining? Could you see him joining PSG, Juventus, or Inter Milan, or Barcelona? I could see him joining PSG or Barcelona, yeah. Obviously, he's...
I don't think...
Go on.
Well, he could join it because Italy's more of the Italian league's like more slow, and obviously it's kind of. I think it's time for him to leave Man City. Like he's been a great servant for them, but I think he's like it's like a lot of Premier League players get a lot of like injuries, and
Yeah.
with him quite old now, I think it's time to leave for him.
Yeah,
But,
I agree. Yeah. But Real Madrid fans will be happy that Vinicius Junior has expressed his desire to stay at Real Madrid despite being linked with Maloney's way. He did play against Atalanta in the Champions League the other night. I didn't really watch it. I just saw the highlights and noticed that he was playing. I'm not sure how much he's featured this season, but I know Liverpool were actually linked with him on loan. Obviously, they were rumours, so I'm not sure how true they were. But obviously, he has a very bright future ahead, and obviously, he's Brazilian. He's a left winger. He plays similar way to Neymar, but obviously, it's a lot to ask for him or to expect. Do you think he'll reach Neymar's level? Do you think he'll reach obviously there's a difference between world class and like the best of the best, but it's an
I think
interesting
I'll
one.
reach world class.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But,
yeah. Do you want to tell us a bit about the next one, Jacob? About Struik? I'm not sure on the pronunciation.
Yeah, so Leeds deny interest from Leicester for Struik. Now, if Napoli have also been interested, this is a must keep for me.
Yeah.
21. Only played 5 times in the Championship last season, and then is playing regularly because of injuries this season for Leeds. But I think he's come in. He can do the centre back role and the CDM role. I think he's come in, done a solid job, and at 21, I think from here he's only gonna get better. So I think for Leeds that's a must keep.
He's been quite important, obviously, since Colin Phillips got injured as well. And I know you were quite angry about that, the way he got injured. But it obviously depends. Leicester and Napoli, Champions League football, Europa League football, could tempt him away. But obviously, game time, obviously, it will be in his mind as well. So it's an interesting one. But we've got a bit here that Zach's going to talk about, and it's that Arsenal are going to listen to offers for Reece Nelson. Do you want to tell us a bit more about Reece Nelson, Zach?
21-year-old Englishman. He currently plays for Arsenal, but it's looking more and more likely that he's going to leave in the summer. He's played 22 times in the Premier League for Arsenal, and that's inside 3 years, with 13 being off the bench. And he's also featured in the Europa League 8 times, with 5 off the bench. He has played for England's youth levels quite a bit, having 12 caps for their under-21s, and he's currently valued around £17 million. He joined Arsenal on a long-term contract in 2018, which was his first ever professional contract. He was born in 1999 and is 5'9", and he also had an impressive season in the Arsenal under-23s, where he scored 9 and bagged 3 assists in 11 appearances for them, which is quite good for him. And on January 2018, he made his Premier League debut in a 4-1 win against Crystal Palace, coming off the bench as a substitute in the 72nd minute. And on April the 8th, 2018, he made his first Premier League start in a 3-2 win over Southampton. And as I said, Arsenal will be willing to listen to offers which will see him further his career somewhere else.
It's an interesting one because he is young. What do you say? He's born in 1999.
Yeah.
Got a long career ahead of him. But Jacob, do you see Nelson staying at Arsenal? Do you think he's got the ability to stay there?
I think he's got the future ability, but I think he'll either go back to Germany, where he did well for Hoffenheim, or a different team in Germany. But I don't know why. I don't know why I can just picture him in a Crystal Palace shirt. No reason why. I don't know why. I don't know. I'm not too sure why.
He's definitely got the ability to play at least in the Premier League. But yeah, what did he say? 17 million he's valued at. So obviously Arsenal do have a lot of young players. coming through the team. Is he one of the best ones? Yeah. Yes, you could say. But obviously, if Arsenal got quite a bit of money, especially in the current climate, I think they would accept it. Or maybe even better, a loan offer for him. Maybe, like you said, Jacob, back to Hoffenheim, who, if Hoffenheim know how good he was, I'm sure they wouldn't mind getting him on loan. Obviously, the window's shut now, so it'd have to be next season, any transfers that go through. But, yeah, he's not really featured much for Arsenal, so I think it will be best for his career, especially, like we mentioned, his potential. You don't grow as a player unless you're playing regularly. Like we've seen with Harvey Elliott at Blackburn. He's gone on loan, 17 years old, and he's just smashing it in the Championship. So it definitely is good for his career. But I don't know where Jacob's got Crystal Palace from, but I don't really see where I can see Nelson playing. Maybe like a Crystal Palace. He's definitely Championship quality in the future. But yeah. But a bit of good news for... Sort of good news. Bielsa has stated that it would be better to wait until the end of the season before deciding on his contract. And now, the longest time Bielsa has ever stayed at one club is 2 years. So, how long has he been at Leeds? Is it for 2 years coming up?
3 years.
Season?
No, this
3
is his
years.
third season.
So
Yeah,
obviously, this is the longest he's been at a club.
That's not international.
Yeah. You'll be hoping that he stays, Jacob. Obviously. But do you think he'll stay? What do you think?
I think he'll, because I mean he's sending scouts, obviously with the pandemic it's hard, but he's like kind of like he's the oh god, I can't speak there. He's like signed 3 new scouts that Bielsa told the club to get. So it's like so he's thinking about future plans. So for me, I think he has signed on, yeah. Well, I don't think he's signed yet, obviously, but I think he will sign for one more season. What's brilliant news. But yeah.
Well, a bit of more transfer rumours. We've got 3 more things to end this off. We've got Erling Haaland has told or released that he would want a 78 million contract over 5 years if he were to leave Borussia Dortmund. So obviously we know how much he would cost if he was to leave Borussia Dortmund, which is quite a lot. Obviously he's some way off the financial value that PSG want for Mbappe. But 78 million over 5 years is quite a big contract, quite a big demand. So, who are the Man City? Obviously, could pay that. Real Madrid could pay that.
Seen Chelsea being quite
Yeah.
interested.
Yeah, obviously Chelsea have got quite a bit of money still after their transfer ban. I know they spent a lot, but I assume they can afford that. Obviously, Liverpool probably could afford that, but they're not one of the richest sides compared to the Manchester City and the Real Madrids. But it's quite big. Obviously, if he has stated how much he wants, that obviously does play part in his mind, thinking, does he see himself at Borussia Dortmund long term? I don't think he does. I would like to see him in the Premier League to see how well he does. Obviously, Premier League, one of the toughest leagues in the world. So it's always hard for a player to come in. But obviously, the new rivalry of Mbappe versus Haaland, would you like to see, say, Haaland at Manchester City, Mbappe at Liverpool? I know you've mentioned that before, Jacob. It will be quite a good rivalry. It's probably the 2 best teams in the league, I'd say. But yeah, quite a big demand from Haaland. And another big demand, this is for another striker, Moise Kean, who's impressed, scoring 14 goals in 26 games for PSG. Everton have stated that they want 50 million for him. We'll straight away ask the question to both of you. How much would you pay for Moise Kean? If they didn't say they wanted 50 million, how much would you pay?
I mean, if I was the Leeds manager, I won't pay more than 5 million for him. Because I just don't think he's got the physicality to play in the Premier League.
Yeah.
Like we saw last season with Everton, he was just struggling big time. But I know French league's different, but I'm not too sure really. I don't know I was the PSG manager. I mean, they are loaded, so 50
Yeah.
million is probably like a crisp to them. But yeah, I don't know.
Well, he's obviously not exactly an Mbappe replacement if he was to go. I'd say they're some way off the same ability, but I think 50 million probably just a number that will scare PSG away a bit. Obviously, how well he's done, but like you said, has he got the physicality for the Premier League? Probably not right now, but that's probably something he can work on, and he's proven that he can score goals. But yeah, he's another young one that we want to keep an eye on for the future. And then finally, we've got a bit more transfer rumours involving Liverpool. Their goals have dried up recently, but they've been monitoring Ocampos and Yusuf En-Nesyri in the La Liga, who have both shined this season. I know Ocampos did quite well last season as well, but En-Nesyri especially this season, only 23, I believe, scored a few goals. But I do think they're looking at other players who can bring more a bit more differentiation to the attack. I know that Liverpool have also this was quite shocking. This morning I was looking at news and Liverpool were linked with Giroud, obviously because contract's running up at the end of the season. Obviously, it would be something different. But if Liverpool were to sign one of these, a Campos, a Nesri, Giroud, or something like that, obviously that means Mbappe's not joining or Haaland. But if they weren't going to go for him, my priority would be to sign Haaland or Mbappe because I think obviously having a goal scoring player is crucial. But like there would be a way of still fitting Firmino into playing a 4-2-3-1 with Firmino in a more of a number 10. But interesting. Two players in the league have shined, and Liverpool. Well, obviously it's rumours, but obviously all big teams are linked with players who are in form. Like last podcast we talked about Rafinha being linked with Liverpool, and I know how much you want to keep him, Jacob. But
Yeah.
I think that's all we've got to talk about, to be honest. I know it's been a very long episode, so thanks if you've stayed this far, even if you've clicked on it. But yeah, thanks if you're watching this on YouTube, and if you are watching this on YouTube, like and subscribe or comment down below if there's any topics you'd like us to discuss in the next one. And we'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Yeah, see ya.